I think we're live. Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Poppy, Shannon Smith, Hiram, Kimberly, Hate on Skills, David Cunningham, Coin Dragon. I don't know that guy. He's trouble. Welcome, everybody. And thank you for coming. We have a really super special show tonight. You guys know we usually take the last Monday off of the month, but somebody bugged us and wanted to come on the show. So we decided just to let him. All right, so we're going to go around real quickly. Our guest is going to be last to introduce himself, and then he's going to kick off with a slideshow that I think you guys are going to really, really enjoy. But we're going to go around real quick and just introduce ourselves in case there's anybody new. I don't recognize any new names, but I'm Paula Bloom. You guys know me. I'm in the Facebook groups all over, telling people bad news most of the time. I collect errors and varieties, mostly errors for now. I'm really concentrating on them. And yeah, so that's about it for me. I'm going to let Sean go next.
Good evening, everyone. A lot of you know me. I'm Sean with Blue Ridge Surround on YouTube. Been collecting coins for over 25 years. Not really a specialist in anything particular, but I love working with US type coins and old currency. So I do it all. But that's it. Thank you, everyone, for coming aboard.
Sean?
Adam?
I've been collecting for about 12 years. My name's Adam, or Coins and Ghouls, whatever you want to call me. I collect varieties, and I do a lot of Franklin half dollars of varieties, also cherry pick eBay, and I like to look through BU Lincoln cents and all kinds of stuff.
I got one too.
Jeff, you want to go next?
You're muted, Jeff, and a little frozen. You're kind of frozen there. You're a little.
Am I still frozen?
Yeah.
It's like max headroom.
He's speechless. What can you say?
Are we good now?
No, it's not.
Hey, look, this is our IT guy here.
Yeah, he is.
It just wouldn't be a show without the technical difficulties.
Go next.
Jeff's having trouble, so I guess I'll go. I'm Chris. You guys all know me. I'm very active on the Facebook groups. I do have a YouTube channel. I'm not very active with that. I do write informative blog articles, and hopefully Paula can share that link there a little bit. And I'm excited. I'm just meeting Joe here for the first time. So published author, Mr. Joe Cronins, welcome to the show. And boy, I love that shirt. That's a really nice shirt you got on there.
That's slick.
And,
I like that, huh?
I look forward to hearing what you have to say today. And welcome, everybody. Thank you.
I paid him to wear that.
How about this
on,
shirt
man,
right
if we're
here,
going to advertise
right?
your book, you gotta come on, wear the shirt, man.
Sean, you know I like that shirt.
Yeah.
Sean's always got to be different.
Oh, well,
So,
it evokes a response, and that's what I
It
like.
does.
I like good conversation.
right?
Yeah.
Beer deer. So you guys, I'm going to introduce him real quick, just a quick little something. I don't even know what I'm trying to say. I'm a little starstruck. I was that way with Sean. I'm over it. I'm sure I'll get over it with Joe too eventually. But
You're not over with art yet, though.
I do want to tell everybody that everybody's channels on the panel are down in the description. Christopher Rhodes' blog is down in the description, so he quits bugging me. And also, if you want to purchase a book from Mr. Cronin, all of the information is down in the description. I think you're probably going to win after he's showing you guys really cool stuff. And so we have Mr. Joe Cronin, author of Mint Errors to Die For, and I'm gonna let him tell you guys a little bit about himself. All right, Joe, I'm gonna put you full screen because you're special.
Oh, come on.
There he is.
Well, thank you for the invitation. It was nice to have the invite, and thank you for the shirt and the hat and the other swag that you sent me. I have all that as well. The purpose of what I'm going to do today is kind of a culmination of who I am as a person. I try to have a good eye for things and everything from, like, centering something to how I cut the grass to like even shoveling snow, like shoveling the driveway. I like certain things like kind of neat and orderly, and I notice when they're kind of out of whack. It was part of my job when I worked for the custom service. I had to sort of identify something that really wasn't right, whether it was a story or something about a vehicle. Like, for example, really quick, if it's a relatively new car and we go to do an exam of the car, there shouldn't be fresh scratches on screws and bolts and things like that. Like, why would they be on there? That means someone tried to take it apart. So there's a reason why they probably did that. So just learning how to notice little things like that in particular really sort of tied into my interests of numismatics and collecting as a kid with my dad. And then within the last few years, I've really taken a liking to errors because they're just so different. It's not the same, cookie cutter item that you have. And just learning and reading and studying about that and going into the dealers and asking what they have. They sort of recognize when I came in that I'm that guy that comes in to look for stuff and look for the junk bins and the junk boxes and the errors and the counterfeits, really to take the time to study and learn like how they're made. And what exactly is wrong with it. And when I really got on board fully with this, I was talking to Mike Diamond a couple years ago on coin chat forum and some email correspondence, and he really stressed the importance of, if you really want to know what something's wrong with a coin, if it's genuine, is you really have to learn how coins are minted, like how are they made, and then you learn the various stages of what happens at each stage. You learn how did they used to be minted decades ago when they went to the Schuler press and when they made these changes like that. And this errors and die varieties can be kind of daunting because there's so much information that you have to know to be able to give a good diagnosis of it, that I find people that study errors have kind of a better working base of knowledge when it comes to even non-errors. So what I put together for you guys today is something that we're all kind of asked in many of our groups, is this an error? Is this something desirable? Is it valuable? And we all get it. We all get questions like that. So as kind of Paula alluded to earlier, a lot of times what somebody has is not an error, and you hate to be that person to kind of break the news to them, especially if it's something that a loved one gave them and told them it was special, and then you learn, well, it's special because they gave it to you, but it's not really what they said it was. So on my Facebook page, probably 99 times out of 100, somebody asked me to look at something, and it's something that's damaged or it's altered. And so that's one of the reasons why I wrote the book that I did. It wasn't just to showcase, some really neat errors that I have and some of my friends have and things that I found on some of the auction sites, but was also hoping to help these people learn what damage is and what it looks like so they can start to answer some of their own questions. So that's really what I have for you today. It's a PowerPoint that I call Nope.
Nope.
It's called Nope.
Nope.
I love, that's the best word in the English dictionary.
It's an
So I
all
want to
caps
remind
too, by the
everybody-
way.
We are going to be giving away a copy of Mint Errors to Die For at the end. So please stick around. Just because you want to learn, but we are going to be giving a copy of that book away. Joe, when's that going to be ready? Are you going to mail that out when? Because I'll send you the winner's address and information. Okay.
Yeah, they should be ready. on or before July 31st, as business has kind of picked up with the, pretty much nationally. They said they're a little slower than the last couple printers, but I should have them within a few weeks, and then go to Pittsburgh to pick them up. So I'm anticipating some point around the third week of July, and then whoever the winner is, I'll just mail it myself. There's no sense of me mailing it to you to mail it to somebody else.
I appreciate that.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, so I think what I'm gonna, we didn't talk about this before, how we're gonna do the giveaway, but I think what we're gonna do is one of the panel members, if they want, pick a question off of what you're gonna be talking about tonight. Just pick something off there, and we'll do a little bit, see how good they're paying attention. So, yeah, all right. So, Joe, if you want to get this party started, I'll pull up your PowerPoint here.
Okay.
And it's all, the floor is yours.
Okay. So, again, you can all see it full screen and everything?
Yep.
Yeah, let's
All
do
right.
it.
Do you guys want me to put it full screen, or you want to keep us on the side?
Why don't you go ahead and do full screen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just in case. Yeah.
All right.
So just making sure that it's toggling back and forth here.
Yeah,
Yep.
it is.
That's good.
Okay, all right. So by trade, I'm a school teacher. I was a U.S. Customs agent shortly before the 9/11 attacks. And one of the things that I got to do working for Customs is I got to learn not only suspicious, people trying to come in, but also merchandise like food and medicine and vehicles and pretty much anything you think of. And many of the companies would come and would actually train us what to look for to make sure that what we have is actually genuine and not counterfeit, because everything is counterfeited. If someone's buying it, if it's mass produced, someone is counterfeiting it. Someone asked me, why does China get all the blame? China gets all the blame, or most of it, because they very well deserve it, because this is where they're coming from. And it's getting more and more difficult to determine and authenticate things if you really don't know what you're doing. And they're challenging for everybody. I mean, the experts that wear stumps sometimes on things too. But so what I want to do is, I know that people look through pocket change and, or they coin roll hunt, or they buy, mint bags, the old mint bags when they used to be sold to them. And they're looking for things like this. They're looking for, dye varieties, they're looking for errors, because in many cases, that's where your money's going to be. So again, I decided to put something together to help people and show you some of the most common forms of non-errors you're going to find when you look through these things. Because, and it's not really a complaint, but I really get inundated with submissions to look at things, which is hard to do from a photograph. But I'm going to show you the most common forms of damage that I get asked about, and that's what I have in the PowerPoint here. So this is called Nope, mint errors that are not mint errors. And nothing on the screen here is a genuine error. These are all things that have been altered. And I'll try and go into detail on why they are and try and make it interesting for you. So here we go. 99 times out of 100, what people think is a mint error is not. And 99 times out of 100, even if it is an actual error, it's seldom worth more than the face value of it. And that's what people really don't like hearing. If it was, if you could find these things all the time, they really wouldn't be all that valuable. And some of these forms, like on the right here where it says 1968, that's an example of machine doubling that people think, is a double die. And one of the things in the book I do is go into detail and tell you like why that isn't and how to identify it. It's actually a lot easier than people think. And then down the bottom, things like, die chips, and they're cool to find, and I don't want to, dissuade anyone from looking for stuff. But if you're thinking that you're going to cash in on something like this, I just kind of want to temper your expectations. that the chances of you finding that $40,000-$50,000 coin, or even like a $20 coin, is pretty slim. So, and again, on the left here, I'll talk about what that is. I get a lot of questions about that and what that damage type is for you. All right, so common examples of damage that people have where they think it's, a wrong planchet or a clip or, bonded to some other metal that was made for a foreign country, as the U.S. did. A lot of questions on that. These are three pretty common errors. On the left, the 1984 Descent, these are made of zinc starting in mid-1982, and collectors, for the most part, especially error collectors, hate them because they're very sensitive. Once the thin copper plating is damaged, they're very easily susceptible to rotting and corroding, and this is what they can look like. So I get a lot of questions like, is this a ragged clip? And I said, no, it's ragged damage is what it is. It's ragged zinc rot. And a lot of those. Chances are, if you're buying, a couple rolls of pennies, like I did a penny floor, I probably found 30 or 40 of these and $150 worth of pennies. So no, this is not an error that is damaged. On the right, staining, that's a dime. People think, is that a wrong planchet, or is it maybe on a foreign planchet, or was it heated too long and properly annealed? No, that is a stained coin. And on the bottom, I get these a lot. The adhesives, that's some kind of glue or tar or pine sap or Lord knows whatever else it is. A lot of times glue will yellow over time, so it's probably glue. But for these three here, these are some of the more common ones that I get. Zinc rot, staining, and some kind of adhesive. One of the things you really want to look for genuine errors that aren't damaged, because you can have a genuine error and then it becomes damaged, but one of the things you want to look for, one of the best telltale signs, is surface luster. Does it have original luster? Not too shiny. Sometimes they'll have cartwheel luster on them. You kind of spin them around, you kind of see that. But the first thing that I'm going to look at, number one, is I'm going to check for luster. And then two other things you should do if you think you have an error. You do need to have a digital scale that goes to the thousandths of a gram. And it also helps to have a good magnifying loop. Those things are going to eliminate most of the questions people have if they just use those. If you just weight it and you just check for surface luster and you take a good look under a scope. So again, corrosion, staining, adhesives, these are common forms of what we call post-mint damage, right? Post-mint damage, or PMD. So on the right, Paula, I'm sure you get these too. People think that just because a coin is orange or red, they think it's on a wrong planchet for like a Lincoln cent, or they think it's struck on a foreign coin or something like that. And or the biggest one I get is people say, is this missing a clad layer? And I said, well, it might be if it was actually made of clad layer metals, which this isn't. Believe it or not, there are lots of natural acids. A lot of soil in many parts of the country is naturally acidic. And even sometimes in just a matter of months, it can start to tarnish. And in some cases, turn colors like this. And it can be really extreme that you see on the left, where it actually starts to flake and corrode. Like you can't even tell the date on it anymore. So I asked one of my science guys in the high school I teach at, and he said that nickel on the left was probably buried underground for probably at least 9 years in that condition on the left. So yeah, so if you see an orange nickel, chances are it's a nickel. Again, weighing it should give you a good clue. They weigh around 5 grams. No mint luster at all, corrosion, severely discolored to the point where it becomes almost unrecognizable. And you just don't normally see that with many genuine errors. So again, these are forms of corrosion from environmental damage, commonly found people that do metal detecting. Here's one of my examples of a genuine one. If you'll notice, the designs are kind of cut off. It has good natural luster on it. It's a good strike. One of the things with errors that people who collect non-errors eye appeal is everything. So if an error might, I don't really care if something is an AU58 or an MS64. I'm really looking at, does it have good eye appeal? Is the placement of the error nice? Like this is perfectly centered. It's got a nice full date. But again, the big thing that distinguishes these is the original luster that it has, the original shine that's caused from the when they clean and buff these out before they're struck, and even the striking action too kind of helps. So that's a genuine one. One of the reasons why nickels can turn colors is because the planchets were heated too long. Coin metals, the planchets are heated because it actually, this might sound strange, but the heating actually softens them a little bit, which actually makes them stronger. The heating upon, when the heating of the planchet helps the planchet metal not become too brittle because it can shatter, and it can also ruin the dies too. And the dies are heated too, and that's called being annealed or heated. And sometimes if they're annealed too long, the copper particles inside the nickel, nickels are 75% copper, believe it or not, even though they don't look red at all. But the overheating can actually cause a shift of the metal particles within the metal itself, and they will rise to the heat source, and they can actually settle on top. And again, so this has nice original luster on it. Again, that's the biggest thing I look for is, what does the surface look like? There's some other things too that you can find out if you get a copy of the book about improper annealment errors, and they can get all kinds of colors. They can become dark gray. They can have spots. They can have swirls. They can have lines. They can be only on one side. They can have two different forms on two different sides. It's really a lot looking at improper annealment nickels or any coins. The fourth one I get a lot are coins that were dipped in acid. They do this for a number of reasons. I know the chemistry teacher where I teach at said they used to do put zinc pennies in acid and see the reaction. I guess they would disturb the surface of the copper on a penny, and then they would place it in an acid, and the acid would eat away the zinc and just leave the copper shell. So I don't know the origin of this one here, but clearly the corrosion, that sort of that bubbled almost like sandpaper look, that's classic of a lot of acid on zinc. And on the right here, the nickel too, that was obviously dipped in acid. And acid does a lot of things. It not only eats away at designs, so it actually reduces the thickness, and it can also reduce the diameter. So the edges actually, the coin literally, it doesn't really, it shrinks in size, but the metal has just been dissolved from the acid, and you wind up getting coins that look like this. So these are pretty popular ones I get a lot too, and they find, and they're just what I call, they're on acid trips. So these here, the two on the top, obviously don't go together. So the reverse of the Roosevelt dime was very carefully buffed out by someone who had a lot of time on their hands and a lot of patience. And I'm thinking they used kind of a buffing Dremel and just did the perimeter, the outer perimeter of this dime. And if you look close up, you'd be able to see there are little fine scratch marks. And that's just something you wouldn't see on a genuine minted coin. You would see scratch marks if the planchet was never struck or was a very weak strike, but this was not a weak strike. You can tell the designs at one point were strong. And I can tell that because I look at how pronounced the actual rim is. The rim being that strong, you wouldn't have a very strong struck on reinforced rim and then have very weak designs. And the idea that somehow this die was perfectly clogged radially is just, it's not believable. The nickel here, I'm not really sure what they used for that, but the surface on both sides of this was very smooth, and they smoothed off the rims, which again, that wouldn't happen. And upon the strike, the rims would be a little bit more raised than they are, because if you notice, along the date, the rim is flat all the way to the edge, yet there's raised numbers and letters from like 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock. Coin dies have a rim gutter that helps sharpen the raised rim. So if that were struck like that and left the mint, you would have some more formation of the rim than just the raised lettering and numbering. So that's an easy call for me. The one on the bottom here, the 1959D Lincoln cent, it has what appears to be no strike on the reverse and a sharp strike on the left. And there are some cases, I'm going to show you a couple examples where something like this could happen. But looking at this, obviously, this does not take an experienced error researcher very long. I knew immediately this thing is fake. Even before I weighed it, I knew when I weighed it, it was going to weigh less because it was ground down. If you can tell by the lighting and the shading on it, as you look at the center and you go towards the edges, it actually, not only is there no rim, but there seems to be, it sort of, it kind of goes down. It's kind of like if you take a dinner plate and you turn it upside down, it kind of tapers down. And there's just no way that would happen. The other thing is for a coin to be struck, there has to be pressure from two dies ramming into the planchet. If you only had one die attached, there would be no strike at all because you need a hammer and an anvil die to make contact with the planchet, or there would be nothing on there at all. So I know someone said, well, maybe there wasn't a reverse die. No, that's physically impossible. It can't happen. It wouldn't happen. So does anyone know how I know just by looking at this that this is impossible, that this came from the mint?
Besides what you just said?
Yeah, there's something that's like for a coin to be struck. Actually, it's before the striking process. It's after the blanking process and before the striking process.
Photo rim.
Yeah, there's no rim on the other side. There's no way you would put, when rims are formed and they go through the upset mill, it literally squishes the coin from the outer edges into the center, and a little channel that's a little bit narrower in diameter, and it spins around and it literally squeezes the perimeter of the coin, and it forces the metal in that area to go up. So there's no way you would have that on one side and not the other. So as soon as I saw this, it took me no time at all. And again, this just kind of comes with experience. For those that are interested in errors, one of the things that I recommend is if you want to start taking a look at errors, just pick one error type that you like and just read all about it, and then move on to the next one and move on to the next one. You can't. There's really no crash course you can do for errors. All right. So we got corrosion, we got staining, we have buffing, grinding, sanding, all types of things. Paula, I'm sure in your group you get questions like this where things look similar. Mm-hmm. And then I have even more over here. So these two are genuine coins that really only have one side that was struck. Even though there was a die striking action on the other side, how does it happen that you have one side that has designs and the other side does not really have any designs on it? With this error type here, what happened with this one is there was more than one coin in the striking chamber when it got struck. So you would have, if you were to stop the coin press after the struck either one of these coins and you took the two coins out, you would have one planchet that would have an obverse strike and the other one would have a reverse strike. And on the opposite side of each one, you would have what looks like you see on the right here. So on the top one, this is called it's called a full indent. So you have the planchet indented completely into the reverse. And a lot of times what happens is the force of the strike can actually smash the metal and transfer the metal into the designs, in some cases from both sides. Now I notice the farther back you look, like if you actually progressively move backwards and you look at that one on the top right, you really get a clear picture. You can really see the bust of Lincoln and Lincoln Memorial together. Whereas on the bottom one, the 1959, you see it kind of has like smoothed out striations there, those kind of slanted vertical lines. What happened with this coin is that was actually struck through a planchet that had previously split in half and then was rammed into that planchet. So somewhere there is a considerably thin reverse strike with an obverse strike that looks similar to that on the right. So, and again, the other thing is even though there's no designs on those two on the right, you can still see on the outer edges that there is some form of a raised rim. The die strike just sharpens it and makes it more defined, but clearly that is not flat, and that's really what you want to see if a coin has no strike on the other side. So again, these are called full indents. For pennies, they're actually kind of affordable. You don't have to break the bank. A lot of times you can get these for under $100. Looking through, when I did my penny floor, I looked through, I think it was over $220 something worth of Lincoln cents. I found about 5 of these. These are coins that have been, they're much smaller. They're pretty much the size of a dime. And many of them are actually pretty close to the weight of the dime. Whether they're silver or whether they're clad, they're pretty much right on. And does anyone know why somebody would make this? And there's a lot. Again, just doing my floor, I think I found 7 of these actually. Some Canadian, some U.S.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the whole panel knows, so don't answer, you guys, because we get this a lot. I want to see if somebody in chat knows why. You've seen this before, you guys, so I know you have. Why they do this to these coins.
Yeah, I see a lot in like dealer junk bins. They'll have them, and they'll say, a foreign planchet, or struck on copper. So some of them think that there are actually dies. Like when the planchet metal goes through, the first thing that strikes them are what they call blanking dies. It's just a die with a hole in it, and it cuts out the blank, and then they have a rim formed later, and then they're struck by dies. So yeah, these are pretty common to find both in the U.S. and in Canada. If you buy old rolls and you coin rolls.
Our whole chat is nailing this one. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. They're saying payphone or vending machine. So they're right.
Yeah, payphone, vending machine, parking meters, jukeboxes, pretty much any cigarette machines, anything you would put a dime in for. Nice. All right. This is one form of damage that really breaks people's hearts, because they really think because it's the wrong color and it's shiny that they can retire and start popping champagne bottles. But people ask me, why would somebody plate something? I think for the top 2, it's pretty obvious. But just to answer all of your questions that you might have, I have no idea why people plate things. I have no idea why people put grinders to them, or why they dip them in acid, or why they, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why they would do it. Other than, they're kind of nefarious with their intentions. I don't know why somebody would do it. Chemistry classes, I guess. But obviously if you own a coin shop, you've seen the top 2 come into your shop probably a few times a year. In fact, guy in Kenmore, Harold Rice, it was right, when was I there? I think I was there in February, and somebody came in, their grandfather had died, and they were asking about a special penny, and they had a special holder for it. Excuse me. And Mr. Rice called me over, and immediately, and he knew too, because he's seen enough of these, it's junk. The 1943 coppers, some of them, depending on condition, have gone for over $1 million. But again, you weigh this thing, if it weighs what a steel cent should weigh, like around 2.7, 2.8 grams, you just got yourself a plated coin. And then, the 1944 steels with planchets left over that were struck in 1944. In fact, in the one that I have up there, you can even see the copper showing through it, because it's been handled so often. So I look for that too. And again, weighing these things is super easy. It's one of the easiest things you can do. Now, some of these ones on the bottom can be a little bit more convincing. The 1958 has very, very strong luster on it. And I had it on a scope up to 20x. And whoever did this did a very good job. It was very, very convincing. The only thing was it was a little too shiny, and I made the call that I'm pretty sure it was plated. And a lot of times when a coin is plated, they'll lay it, face down. So sometimes the rim will be touching whatever it's resting on, and a lot of times the rim, the outer raised edge, won't really have strong plating on it, but that one still does. So someone took a lot of time and care to do that. Yeah, that's plated. That was a very easy call. The 1962 actually did test for silver, but it's silver plated. And the 2012, somebody plated that to make it look like an unplated zinc cent. And this one did a kind of a sloppy job. If you look right in front of Lincoln's face, you can kind of see like a tilted rectangular dark gray haze.
Mm-hmm.
And when I flipped that over, that same mark was in the opposite direction. So I discerned that was probably a pair of tweezers that was holding it while they were dipping it. And it just kind of left that mark after they dipped it. And again, a lot of the edges there don't have the plating on it. So kind of a sloppy job for that one. But I see a lot of plated coins. Again, these are the ones that really break people's hearts because they really think that they have something. And it's I hate giving people bad news. So just kind of do a comparison when people find ones that they think, a silver colored penny, they think, well, maybe it's on a silver dime planchet, just to kind of show you what they look like. And these are to scale. And you can see that a lot of the cent on dime planchets, because the planchet is smaller, it has room to expand inside the collar. So many of them will be kind of oblong shaped and they'll be missing designs. Most commonly, the L in Liberty is gone, and the top of In God We Trust is a lot of times cut off. So I find a lot like that. And again, a cent on a silver dime planchet should weigh what a silver dime would weigh. People seem to think if it's Lincoln's face on it, it should weigh what a penny weighs, and it doesn't. And you can see the silver plated one, it's a full size. And again, the weight, even the luster on it isn't really right. You can tell that was plated too. That's an easy call. So, yeah, these are the heartbreakers, the plated coins. Believe it or not, one of the hardest things to do, even for people who have advanced knowledge, unplated cents are some of the most trickiest to authenticate because sometimes they don't always have that lustrous look that many of them should. I've been fooled a couple times. This 1983, I feature this in the book. This was slabbed by ICG and actually wrote to them and said that they made a mistake. ICG admitted that they probably made a mistake. And I don't really make a big deal of it because people are going to make mistakes. But the person who was selling it that I bought it from insisted that it was not. But in the book, I have close-up photos. And you can clearly see the copper throughout. It's all over the place. The acid marks, the corrosion. So the 1983D was an easy call. The 1983 Philadelphia mint clearly has good, strong luster. Just look at the designs. The big thing to look for is the beard and the hair. How strong is it? Very, very strong details, whereas you don't really see too much of that on the 1983D. So luster is important, but for zinc cents that were struck without plating, they can be tricky sometimes. So those, I always take a little more care studying those. Someone said, you can obviously weigh the difference. Weighing them really isn't going to do very much because the plating is so thin. On most scales, it might not even pick up. So weighing them is not really a good option. You really have to know surface luster and the strength of the strike, signs for corrosion.
Can I hop in here for just a quick sec, Joe?
Absolutely.
One thing I noticed with the zinc cents also is that oftentimes you'll find evidence of plating blisters with cents that have had the plating stripped.
Right.
And obviously, if they were never plated, you're not going to find any plating blisters.
Exactly. Yeah. And
that's all I had to say. Carry on.
No, and the trouble with collecting these is, over time, because it's raw zinc, it actually makes a difference in the country where you live. Like, what is the environment of where you live? That can make a big difference in how you store things properly. Like if you live on like on the East Coast, the salt. I mean, for those of you who live on the East Coast, like, and I mean like you live directly on the coast. Like the salt air can ruin chrome and can ruin all kinds of stuff, and so you really have to sort of take an understanding of what part of the country do I live in? What is the climate? And not just the climate inside your house, but outside too, because not everybody always has air conditioning or heat running. So it can damage and tarnish things over time. And with the unplated zinc scents, you really got to be careful on how you store them, because they will, if they get damp in any way, they're going to be shot pretty soon. It's very difficult to stop that process. Coins missing clad layers due to altering. Coins missing clad layers can be kind of expensive, especially for people that like to collect. I have a very good friend that I met on my Facebook page. We've become very good friends over the last few years. One of his prized collections are state quarters with missing reverses. And he's trying to complete a complete set of all the ones that have ever been issued, whether they're the state quarters or the state parks, or all of the designs that they've had where they've changed the reverse from the eagle. He's trying to get missing clad layers for the reverse to kind of have the copper color for the different designs they have. And some of those for the quarters can run up to over $1,500 for mint state ones. So missing clad layers can be kind of cool to have. They can be kind of expensive, whether you have just the layer itself or you have what's remaining on the planchet. I do see these a lot. The 1966 one I actually bought a few years ago from a dealer friend of mine down in Florida. And when I got it, because the picture he had was kind of grainy and fuzzy, and when I got it, I'm like, this is acid. And he agreed, and he actually allowed me to keep it. He refunded my money and said, keep it. Just make sure you use it to educate people. Just don't mention who it was that sold it to you, because he's pretty prominent. Now I said Florida, but it wasn't John Sullivan, because Sullivan just moved to Florida. It was not him. It was a guy. He's very, very popular, honest dealer that sells most of his stuff on eBay, and he's got a lot of good stuff. He's kind of paring down a little bit lately. But the 1966 dime, the eating away at the edges, the corrosion damage, it's clearly an acid-soaked coin. And on the right here, the 1967 Kennedy.
Oh, that hurts me.
Yeah, this is what we call an enhanced error. It was probably a good error when it started. The layer started to separate. But there is clear evidence that somebody was hoping to maybe remove the whole thing and not only have, the obverse layer itself, but the base of the planchet, sort of have two errors, kind of like a mated pair of the missing clad layer and then the detached clad layer. But can everyone see the things that cause me concern on this coin? Where I can, it's pretty clear that this thing had some help.
Yeah, right where the transition point is, it's lifted up, so you can see that somebody bent it and broke it off.
Yeah, somebody obviously had to, and then on the periphery of there's no way to smush those things back down. They're not going to go back down. And even if you have a coin that has a clad layer, like a clamshell, where it's starting to come off, and you can definitely even see inside the base of it, they're kind of hard to bend off with just your hands. But the other thing on here too that caused me concern is if you look at where the T of Liberty is, so that would be right around 2 o'clock. Do you see that little kind of tilted vertical scratch?
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking that was the starting point where someone took a pin or something and started to pry it open. And then as it got further and further open, they went down to 3 o'clock, those two horizontal scratches there, that they kind of tried to push it further and further. And they probably couldn't see they were making contact with it. So yeah, they ruined a cool error by trying to make it better, and that's what we call an enhanced error. That means it was an error when it started, and someone tried to make it more dramatic, probably for to make more money out of it, and they damaged it. So it's a real error, but it was damaged. So I do see these quite a bit for coins that have partial missing layers. So if you're looking, and this was a slabbed coin. This was on a PCGS slab, and I talked to Fred Weinberg about it, and he said, yeah, clearly that's what happened here. I don't. He was pretty sure he wasn't the one that certified that, but I mean, clearly you can see it. So, but I have that just for educational purposes, just to show you how people can do to try and take advantage of people.
Yeah, we've actually had people, a couple clamshells on the show, and we've had some really extreme laminations, and we always tell them, don't pick at it.
Yeah.
Don't pick at it.
These two are genuine ones. Again, you see pretty nice luster. And the one on the left was missing. Somehow the layer came off before it wound up right in the striking chamber. Sometimes, the tri-metal layers, they don't bond to each other. There could be maybe grease or some kind of contaminant or something. And it doesn't want to stick. And it came off. And then while it's missing, it was in the striking chamber. One of the things I do have in the book is I have a page that tells you what certain denominations missing the layer should weigh. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of helpful. And it's usually kind of dead on. It also tells you what the layers weigh, which is cool too. And then if you notice on the 1967 one, it's kind of fuzzy. And normally I would think that was acid, but you don't see the corrosion there. So what happened there was the layer on that coin was probably just about to come off, and the force of the strike just finished it. And then once the die retracted and it popped out, the layer just separated. So it looks fuzzy because the layer was on top of it when it was struck and then came off, whereas the one on the left, the layer was already off, and that's why it's much more sharp. So again, I can understand why some people think that may have been soaked in acid, but that one clearly was not. I do get quite a bit of these. These are coins that were clipped. A lot of times people would clip coins because they wanted to cash in the scrap and still use it. It's one of the reasons why precious metal coins have reeded edges on them. And they've had reeded edges. They've had like designs. They've had lettering. They've had all kinds of stuff. Even like in the 1800s, there are some that have like patterned edges. And the reason why they did that was because people would take silver and gold and they would, clip some of it off, and then sell that as scrap, and then continue to use the coin for its face value. Because a $5 gold piece used to be worth $5 worth of gold, and by clipping some of it off, you would sell that, cash that in for its weight, and then, go somewhere and try and spend it as a $5. And so edge reading sort of helped prevent that, and that's found in the collar. So I have two coins here that both have clips. This might be obvious to many of you, but there are a couple signs here that you should look for to know if you have a genuine straight clip. And there's a problem both on the edge view photos and on the obverse side photos.
Oh, what? Were you
What's
asking? You asking the chat?
Oh yeah, I was asking them, like, if you look at the top and bottom coin on the left.
Gotcha.
What is it about the clip there that should give you pause for one of them? Like, one of them is genuine, one of them is not. And don't necessarily think because one has a sharper strike and isn't damaged that that's the one.
Come on, guys.
I'm just focusing on the clips here, not the condition of it.
Let's see. Captain Jigga said the rim. Hate on Skills said lighter cut line. Donnie Mac, it's flat on the bottom. Ant said Blakesley effect.
Yeah, the Blakesley effects. What that is essentially where there's a clip, because when the coin is in the upset mill that adds the rim, as the coin spins around, because there's a gap, there won't be any pressure, so the rim won't raise. But sometimes even with that, the die strike can actually add the rim on the rim gutter. So
Lucky Duck said the top one looks crimped.
the top one looks what?
Crimped.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what it is. So if we look at the photos on the right, you see that center line. That I mean, when you have a pair of metal shears and they actually come together to cut, they're going to form that raised tapered point. So that is clear. That was cut with metal shears. The 1969D cut with metal shears. Whereas on the 1963, you kind of see a smooth, kind of wavy pattern of like little hills and valleys. It's the same color as both sides of the coin. So you want to look at that too. If we look at the two photos top to bottom on the left, if you notice on the clip of the 69D, at the outer edges of both clips, it sort of bows outward. And that's from metal shifting from it being cut. Whereas on the 1963, you don't see it bowing out at the ends there. You also want to look for tapered rims, like where Liberty is on the 1963 and below the date. You can see that the rim just kind of tapers and fades out, whereas here they don't do that. So it's clearly cut. Why someone cut it, again, I don't have the answer. I don't know why people do stupid things. So those are our clips. Pretend a dryer coin. I know Mike Diamond on my chat said a better term would be like a tumbled coin, and that kind of makes sense. So the 1971D spent some time in an industrial dry cleaner, and the constant battering of it, and coming into contact with solvents and the heat. People seem to think dry cleaning means there's no liquid. There's just no water, like they're soaked in a solvent, and then the heat can be about 150, 160 degrees, and just if it's in there for months upon months upon months, spinning around and banging around. That's kind of what they look like. Number 11 is what we call a spooned coin. Someone actually, this is popular with a lot of silver coins. You would just kind of take it and just hit it with a flat, broad object, and you would essentially push the rims outward. And it shrinks the diameter while the width gets bigger, and then people would just sort of cut a hole in the center of it, and then you put it on a ring mandrel. And you can get a special hammer and hammer it nice and smooth and make a silver ring out of it. But if you were to do that, I would advise you to make sure you're home by yourself, because someone in the room with you or who can hear it is probably going to want to kill you with how many times you're going to have to make that noise. So we call those spoon coins and dryer coins. And of course, the ones that cause the most fights.
Yes.
Vice jobs. I find people that post these, I don't even post a lot of them anymore in my group, because a lot of times I notice a lot of times if I have somebody new and they post one of these things, a lot of times I know it's going to be trouble.
Yeah.
So I tend not to post like fake brockages and stuff, but and I know these are both fake because I made them myself. Not very good ones. I did make a very convincing one that I have in the book, but I won't show that here. But yeah, you literally smash a coin onto another one. So I took a Canadian, being close to the border, we get Canadian change all the time. I took a Canadian cent and a Lincoln cent, and I smashed the reverse on the obverse of that. If this is done in the collar, it should not be all bent and misshapen, and these should lay flat. These obviously no longer lay flat, but the more and more you study brockages, the more you get an idea that most brockages, when you get them, are not going to be what we call first strike. They're going to be very, very warped and contorted, unlike these ones. So if you get like a perfect sort of an image, an outline, an impression, where it looks like the actual coin and nothing is stretched out, pretty much almost every time it's altered. And then on the right, the 2010 cent, I not only smashed the reverse of a shield cent, but I smashed a dime onto it too, just for good measure. So yeah, these are what they call vice jobs, because someone obviously smashed it into a compressing machine like a vice. But the more and more you study these, the more and more these get easier for you. So, like I said, if you want to study errors, just pick an error type and just one of the things I recommend, pick an error type. And I go to heritage auctions a lot. I go to great collections, even eBay. I go to PCGS, NGC. I look at their sites. I look at certified examples. What should be on there? What should not be on there? The minting process helps too. How do I know what stage that happened?
Yes.
Coming towards the end here, these are genuine coins that look like post-mint damage. This 1973 Kennedy half dollar is a total mess. It's a complete and total mess. But this is the result of being improperly annealed or heated too long. And again, the copper particles attract themselves to the heat, and enough of the particles can move where it actually leaves like a crust on it. So that's actually a thin layer of 100% copper, that red, as the metal migrates within the coin itself. And this is what I mean, where sometimes they can turn gray or dark gray or spotty. And the key with this is it doesn't really show up too much in the photo, but this coin has really, really nice shiny mint luster to it. It has no signs of corrosion, no signs of pitting. And this is probably one of my favorite improperly annealed coins. I wanted this actually on the cover of my book, and I showed it to Fred Weinberg. Fred Weinberg looked at my cover just to kind of get his take on how he liked it, and he said, "Get that ugly thing off of there."
Oh, I think it's beautiful.
Yeah, I know. So I took it off and switched it up with the broad strike Mercury dime.
You can put that in volume 2.
Oh yeah.
There you go.
So yeah, this is probably one of my favorite ones.
You know what, Joe? Before you continue,
Yeah.
I am so glad you are in with some of the most prominent error experts out there. I mean, Fred Weinberg. Not everybody knows that he's the man. He's been doing it for years, and there's no one that you would rather trust than his just his knowledge of this. So
yeah, I got to say, so a lot of the conversations I've had, both with Mike Diamond, who I think in terms of like his scientific knowledge just of metallurgy and coining metals and the processes, I think Mike has probably the sharpest mind. Fred is probably my I talk to him probably more often than anybody else. I have so much to learn from him. He's very personable. He's very funny. He has so much knowledge to share. He's easy to get a hold of, and he's very, very personable. And he loves, and Mike does too. They love sharing their knowledge. And I don't know if you guys know, but I just heard I heard rumors a few months ago, but it's confirmed. Either by the end of this year or the start of next year, Fred Weinberg is going to retire as a coin dealer.
Oh no!
Yeah,
I buy a lot of coins from him.
yeah. So he.
Oh wow!
He told me, I got an email message from him today actually, because I was going to say, hey, we're all sad that you're leaving, and he says, yeah, it's kind of time to go, and he wants me to kind of call him and talk more about it. And so I couldn't help but ask, I'd love to have all your old counterfeits and stuff that you have. And he said he promised somebody years ago he would give them to them. So, because I'd really like to study more counterfeits too. But yeah, I was sad there was he actually did confirm. I didn't ask him if he's still going to work for PCGS or not. I have a feeling he might if he stays in California. But,
hey, Joe, that reminds me. You were asking for something. If anybody had some kind of damaged coin that you were.
Oh yeah. I'm looking for spooned coins and dryer coins.
And dryer coins. Okay.
Like really, really, especially dryer coins, like really extreme ones. that people would either want to donate or sell for cheap, or even just send it to me and let me photograph it, and I'll send it back and I'll pay the postage just to get some sharp pictures. But yeah, I'm looking for spooners and for really nasty and gnarly looking dryer coins, especially like zinc cents where like all the copper's gone and it's like reduced to like half its size. I would love to take a look at more of those.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we'll keep asking our viewers if they have anything like that, and they can just email us and see what we can get for you as far as that goes. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think I might have the Lincoln scent that you're looking for, Joe. So we'll get together on that. I found a shield scent that puppy was worn down, and you knew exactly that it was a dryer coin.
Awesome.
Oh yeah. Even like, because I always tell people, like, these things, it's if you don't have one, keep it to kind of study and learn from it. But if you do want to keep it and you wouldn't mind, I would love to. I'll pay the postage just to photograph it, and I'll send you the HD photos. And if I do a write up in a book or something, I'll credit your name on there. So that would be really neat. Yeah.
See, you guys can become famous with your dryer just by finding a dryer coin.
Oh.
We get a lot of emails about them. So as we get them, I'm sure we can, in our replies, see what we can do about getting some of those to you. So
our RPM group, I know, no doubt, has a few tubes of dryer scents.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah, no, I would definitely be interested if you want to forward my information.
Awesome, for sure.
And then the third guy, so I was talking about Mike and Fred, and then John Sullivan's a really nice guy. Knows a lot about errors. Again, he's very, very busy, but he does take time to talk. And those three people, they're amazing ambassadors for the hobby. They love to share their knowledge. I know a lot of us know a lot of snake oil salesman dealers that you have trouble trusting, but those three guys, the heavy hitters in the air industry, Mike Diamond, Fred Weinberg, and John Sullivan, they're just salt of the earth. They're honest. They enjoy it. They enjoy sharing knowledge, and they'll take the time to talk with you, and they're great. And I'm really sad that Fred is going to retire as a dealer, but I don't think he's going to totally disappear. But I just think running his business, I think he's going to put an end to that part of it. So we'll see. When I talk to him in a few days, maybe I'll show a bit more about what I talk with him if he feels comfortable with any of it. So this one here was sort of similar, Paula, to a coin you showed me that
yes,
I guess a young lady had.
The dime. Mm-hmm.
Right. So this was a clad layer that was struck in the chamber, and has very, very few designs, because when dies strike, there is a set distance that it's called a die clearance, and they're set for a certain thickness. If that thickness is not there, you're not going to have a complete strike. And so one of the things you're going to see is a lot of those markings from an unstruck coin get erased from a die strike. Many of them are still there. This thing is wafer thin. So, after it was struck, someone said, well, how did more damage happen to it? Well, where would this coin go from there? It would go into, a bin and then bags and get bent and misshapen and everything else. That's why it kind of looks like this. But this is a 40% silver Kennedy half. And even though there's no date on it, if it's 40% silver, it can only really be two dates. It would be either a 68 or a 69. It wouldn't be a 1970, I don't think, because 1970Ds were going right into processing for the mint sets. They would not go into the bins that would go in bags and rolls. So this one would have to either be and it's cool to learn little tricks about how what date something would be. And for those of you who study varieties and stuff and dye varieties, you can tell, like, when they change a design, like, will they change the hair, or the initials are smaller or bigger. So one of the things for errors with me is to try and figure out if it's 40% silver and has a D mint mark, it can't be 65, 66, or 67, because they don't have D mint. They have no mint marks. So it's got to be either 68, 69, or 70. And I said it really wouldn't be a 70, because a 70 was meant for a mint set. It wouldn't go in a bag. So it's probably either a 68 or a 69. This one here, I fooled a lot of people on a lot of my forums about whether it was genuine or not. Is this really damage? Does anybody want to take a guess what this thing is and how it got to that point?
Christopher?
Looks like a fragment, a detached. Oh boy. Well, 97, so it'd be zinc. I'd say an entire copper obverse layer detached and was struck. This just a layer of plating.
Yeah, it has it does have a little bit of the zinc attached to it. So what I have here, I actually have 2 or 3 of these, and if you notice too, it's one of the indicators here is you can see it's multi-struck. You can see there's another date. Can you guys see my cursor moving around?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't. Okay, so if you look at the date, so what this actually was is this was a coin that was probably at some point stuck to the obverse die and just kept getting hammered and hammered and hammered and hammered. And this is the base of what would be a die cap. They call this the floor or the base. And then at some point it just came off and it's just a fragment. It weighs so light that it's not much more than I think it was. Is it 1/10? It might be 1/10 or 1/15 of the weight of a cent or something, but it's pretty much now just a fragment. But this was the result of a planchet that's for some reason stuck to the obverse die and kept hammering into other planchets, and then eventually just kind of came off. I don't know how this was found. I don't know how this would survive in a bag or a bin of other coins. So I'm thinking someone at the mint must have grabbed it out of the press, and I just don't know how it wouldn't be, because this thing is very fragile. I don't know how, other than someone at the mint took it off themselves personally, and that this was not found in a bag.
Hey, Joe.
Yeah.
Coinosaurus Rex has a really intriguing question. I know this is something that gets brought up numerous times. How does something like this leave the mint if it doesn't go into a bag?
It gets help.
What are your theories about that? Like for example, we've seen some pretty amazing die caps that are multiple struck, and they look like they're bonded, and I don't know. What are your theories on that?
Well, I do know stories that are definitely true. There have been cases where, for example, Fred Weinberg got a call some time ago for something that became known as the San Francisco Hoard.
Mm-hmm.
What happened was there was a gentleman who had contacted him, who, when his father was a mint worker and he passed away and left him a key to this San Francisco safe deposit box. And when he went and saw the box, there were a bunch of unstruck planchets, some experimental, some fantastic proof errors. The only logical explanation can be that this man, his father, somehow had access to these and took them and put them in a safe deposit box. And then there was another story in San Francisco where there was yet another unclaimed safe deposit box that the state of California had to contact the Secret Service to seize it and see if they were allowed to auction it and sell it. And so that was another incredible collection of San Francisco proof errors and planchets. The person that acquired those asked me not to say it was him or her, so I'll keep.
It wasn't me.
Wasn't me either. So
Wasn't me, darn it.
yeah.
No, but there's that. There were people who were smuggling like gold bullion. They stuck them in oil pans. I think it was at the West Point Mint. They were taking the planchets, and because you go through magnetometers and wands that can scan these different types of metals, they figured they'll just drive it out of a forklift through the warehouse, and someone went in and actually reached in the oil pan and grabbed it, and they got caught. There was a guy that got caught selling thousands of presidential dollars that didn't have edge lettering. I don't know how this guy at the Mint got him. I think he was actually a Mint police officer. I don't know if you know this, but the U.S. Mint actually has their own police force. Like, they actually have their own cops. They're not security guards. They're actually policemen. And they watch not only the workers, but they also watch the other policemen because, you know, you're working with something so sensitive like this. But we do. They're taken out. They're smuggled out, stolen. And many of the mints, they have these little red containers where if you find any that were, they're what they call like Fidos. You know, they were somehow, you know, defective errors, what have you, and you put them in these little red bins, and they were to be sent for destruction. And, you know, people just, before they had all these advanced security measures, they just put them in pockets, or like, how does this guy take all these coins out and put them in a safe deposit box? I'm guessing it was probably one at a time, but over time they were smuggled out. I think there are a few of them that were obviously made on purpose because there's no other way to explain how the error happened. So, but I think it's a little over dramatized as to how often this happens. I mean, you think of all the trillions of coins that have been struck. There really aren't that many that are so fantastic that they had to be made on purpose. So I don't really see it as a problem. But yeah, it was definitely done. So I think a lot of these were probably taken out in secret and stored. Because I know of 2 cases where it happened. I can't believe that's the only 2 times. So that's what I would say is how these
Seems like I read an article recently about a big bust that they did. They found a mint worker with in possession of a bunch of error coins. I wish I could remember where I read that. Or maybe I just dreamed it. I don't know. Maybe I'm just starting rumors.
Yeah. So that's essentially what was left of a die cap. But I mean, a lot of the other errors, they were found in the bags. People used to, before 2003, people used to buy the bags just to find the errors. But, you know, now that they have independent contractors that roll all the coins like broad strikes and, you know, crooked looking off centers, you're not going to find them in rolls anymore. It's tougher and tougher to find them. And that's why even like really mild looking errors on, you know, modern coins, like from 2015 onwards, can sell for a lot of money because you're just not going to see them, you know. So these are my tips for people that are wanting to error collect, because I know a lot of people, like you find one or you buy one, or like I've got people into the hobby because I just gave them one, and then they take a liking to it and want to learn. And one of the things they want to do immediately is they want to go and do coin roll hunting and just buy bags and rolls, you know, the old bags, and buy rolls and look for them. And I try and tell them, number one, your chances of finding something significant is very, very slim. So don't become disillusioned. You know, chances are you're not. I mean, you're going to find some cool stuff, but in terms of is it going to be valuable, cool stuff, it's very, 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 very slim. The chances of you finding something where you're going to make national headlines. Normally, I would tell people, you know, go to a dealer if you think you have an error. But like I know in my area, none of the dealers in Western New York specialize in errors, and they'll normally contact me. And I don't mean it as an insult. It's just it's not something that they care about. You know, like we all have areas, or most of us have areas where we kind of specialize in something. Where I live, no one cares to collect these things, so you know, they might not know. Number 3, I get this a lot from people who, you know, when I say what you have is damaged, and they'll say, well, prove it's damaged. I'm like, no, you got that backwards. You need to prove it's an error, right? There's trillions of ways something can become damaged, you know? So yeah, you only know that by learning the minting process. Like I know an off center occurs during the when the planchet is fed into the striking chamber, and it's not centered. Like I know that, it's obvious. So yeah, you have to prove if you have something, you say this is an error, you have to prove why it is and what stage it happened at. Number 4, don't buy coins for investment purposes. I always say it turns honest people into manipulative cretins, because you buy. Experienced people don't buy for investment purposes. So I want to buy this. It's on eBay. I got to buy it. And then once you get it, you realize, oh my God, it's damaged or it's fake. And now, if you can't return it, if you bought it, at a show or something, you never find that dealer again. Now you're going to pawn it off onto somebody else. And so I just don't like that. You should buy the things that I buy. I'm of the understanding that I might not ever get my money back. You just do it because you like it. And that's tough for some people to hear. There are very few people in this country who make a really good living selling coins. There aren't that many of them. It's hard. You really have to be invested in it. Number 5, again, learn the stages of the minting process. That's going to help you. That alone, number 5 alone, is what has helped me more than anything in terms of knowing what is altered, what is counterfeit, what is damaged versus what is real. 6, people don't like when I tell them this, but you need to spend a lot more time reading and researching than sitting around looking at coins. Like that's, you gain your knowledge from learning and I learn all the time. There's errors that I've never seen before. Like I'm on Heritage and all these sites pretty much every day at some point. There's always things that I've never seen before, combinations of things, or new fakes that come out. The learning never stops. If anyone says they know everything, trust me, they don't. There's a lot to learn. You got to have patience. Skills take a long time. You're going to make mistakes. I still make mistakes. It's okay. Learn from them. Don't be arrogant. Nothing to be embarrassed about, right? Nothing to be embarrassed about. You'll learn. Number 8, I mentioned this earlier, study certified examples of error types. Go on and see what they have. Again, learn, like there are certain things that, off centers should have and should not have. There are certain things that off metals should have and should not have, depending on what it is. So learn what those things are. Number 9, treat every coin as if it's uncertified. Experts make mistakes. A friend of mine in Buffalo, he collects mislabeled slabs. That's what he does. And he's got over 400 of them. So they make mistakes. They have the wrong denomination or the wrong error type, or it's not even the right country. He has one where they put the wrong label. And so he has one where it's a Kennedy half off center and the other one that's an off metal nickel, and they switch the labels. They're in each other's slab. So that's he always brings that to the show. If you ever come to Buffalo, I'll tell you who he is. Number 10, eye appeal is more important than a grade. I have some very nice VF errors. Again, because of the placement that they have and a full date and the natural luster that they have, they're pretty nice. Number 11, this is kind of where I'm very patient with a lot of things. One thing that I'm not patient for is people will send me messages, particularly if you do so in the middle of the night, asking me a question that you can obviously look up yourself. If you wrote to me on a computer or a cell phone, you obviously have internet. So don't ask me what year they made this coin. I'm going to not only ignore you, but I might even just block you. I don't like that. Is just 100% pure laziness. If you can look it up yourself, don't ask me. And number 12, and I can't stress this enough, most of the questions I get are asking me if something is a double die. For God's sakes, people have to stop constantly looking for double dies. Learn the difference between machine doubling and double dies. I have a very nice explanation in the book. I outline with nice close-up photos. There are 2 different double dies are die varieties. They're not even really mint errors anyways. But if you even think about you want to look into errors, number 1, I would say start lesson number 1. Learn the difference between machine doubling and double dies. That again, I don't know about you, Paula, but that is the majority, the bulk of my submissions, the bulk of my questions is
100% die deterioration, machine doubling, and 100%. It's a struggle. It's a struggle. I think some people get it quicker than others. Everybody has a learning curve.
Right.
Yeah, but
Yeah, I mean, you always want to have patience with people that are new. You know, how can you not? You know, and you know, like our job is to encourage people to come to the hobby and enjoy it and share knowledge. But like, I have people who will send me, they'll ask the same question about a different coin 8 or 9 times, and I say, look, you know, I get to the point where I just ignore them. You know, because obviously I'm not teaching you anything. You know, the most important thing you can do is to learn how to do some of the stuff yourself, because if you don't, you're going to be vulnerable. You're going to be depending on experts. You know, I say study, learn things, and you become the next expert. You know,
absolutely.
It takes time, and that's okay. So if anyone wanted to contact me about anything, I have my email up there. This is the Facebook group that I run, and this is the book. And I just wanted to thank everybody for the invite. I really enjoy doing stuff like this. It's weird because I'm sitting down, and normally I'm when I teach, I'm much more animated and theatrical and stuff. And it seems like when I'm sitting down, I feel I have to be much more reserved.
That was fantastic. That was so good. I think that the people that come and watch us week after week are really going to appreciate that, because we do get, like, every coin that you showed tonight, we get emails about constantly. And all your information, by the way, you guys, all of Joe's information, is Facebook group link, everything is down in the description below. Do yourselves a favor, please pick up that book. It's worth every penny. And thank you so much, Joe, for that. That was great. We got a lot of questions for you during the stream. I know, here, I'll give him one. Applause. I got canned applause. Thank you. Our viewers know us. We're a bunch of goofballs, but we have a bunch of questions that came in. Sean, somebody want to start reading off those questions for him? It's getting really hot in this room.
I'll start with one.
Okay, perfect.
I actually put it in a unplated coin. Will it have mint luster on it?
Yeah, a lot of them actually do, because the like for unplated cents, like you have the planchet strip, and then the blanking die punches them out, and then they have, you know, they're cleaned up, and then they have the rim raised on them, like they're washed and cleaned, and they have the rim raised on them. So when they're put in that bin with all those little tiny beads in there, and they kind of like brush up, it's kind of like if you know, like how a rock tumbler kind of works, it's kind of similar to that. So they should have luster on them. So yeah, that's one thing you want to look for. It's just sometimes the luster isn't as strong, and so I found, like, for unplated cents, 99 times out of 100, unless you have a nice high definition macro lens shot, for photos, it's very difficult for me to tell in some cases if it's genuine or not, because it could be, and you know, maybe they didn't have a flash on, or maybe like the lighting or something is bad. But a genuine unplated zinc cent definitely should have luster on it. It tends to have more when it's struck, as the metal kind of like shifts around when it's struck. But no, you should definitely see signs. Although sometimes they can be a little bit flatter than normal, but there definitely should be some, absolutely.
I've also noticed that they have a lot of times striations that you can see on them, the unplated.
Yeah, I have a couple like that. I think there might even be some on the one that I posted in the PowerPoint.
And that actually will carry over to after they're plated too. A lot of those zinc cents, you see those striations that come from that planchet.
Yeah, that, and like I said, in the you'll see additional ones. Like, if it seems like the Lincoln cents are notorious for showing, they tend to show more dye abrasion lines than the copper ones do. So you tend to see a lot of those on them too. So yeah.
Ida had a question. How do you identify a black beauty?
A black beauty, a black beauty. The most common ones that I've seen are like 58, 59, 60.
Yep.
I don't know what happened. I don't know why 2 or 3 years in a row. But for those, they're normally dark gray. And for those, for improperly annealed coins, mint luster is everything. And if they're slabbed, it's a little hard to see it depending on what generation and what company. But like for dimes and quarters, for coins that have reeded edges, one of the things you want to look for, and for some nickels too, is when it's improperly annealed and it's struck, as it ejects from the chamber, that reeding kind of scrapes along the collar. And if you flip it on its edge, for reeded coins, for improperly annealment, you would see the surface color on the two sides, and then the edges would be a little bit shinier because that just a little bit of scraping would take away that surface. Nickels can be a little bit tougher than that because there's no reeding, although you can still, I mean, the collar is still pretty tight. You might have it on the on sort of like the rounded off edges on top along the rim. But for those, for nickels, it's mint luster is everything. It's got to be natural. It's got to be there. If they're flat, chances are it's not. Now, it could also be a black beauty that became damaged over time. But for me, the black beauties are way easier to call for nickels than they are for anything else. So, and those I can normally tell from a photograph.
Okay.
But yeah, for those, surface luster is everything.
Okay, let's see.
Shannon wants to know what your favorite error is.
My favorite ones?
Yeah.
I think one of my favorite ones are probably the off centers that have a date, because some errors, you look at them and you can't even really tell it's an error. Like, if the average person sees a 1943 copper cent, they're just going to say, "Oh, look, I found a wheat penny," right? But the off centers, like, you definitely know there's something wrong with it. And regardless of what I bring to a show and what the value is, there's that, to me, those off centers get more people talking than anything else. Those and like ridiculous, obnoxious broad strikes. So for me, I try to have a complete set on different type coins of off centers, like, steel pennies, war nickels. The only thing I'll never be able to afford, maybe not in this lifetime, is a really nice off-center Morgan dollar, because I can't see spending $15,000 to $25,000. I just can't do it.
Wow.
But
Well, it's funny because there's been a few off-center Ike dollars that have sold on great collections the last few weeks. And I'm like, I cannot believe it sold for like $2,000. But
I've been watching.
I think it's just a denomination, especially with the larger coins. I think, Adam, you had said something about an off-center Susan B. Anthony that came up a while ago. Was that you? Yeah.
Michael Kittle just sold one in his auction the other.
Oh,
last
yeah.
week.
Okay. Yeah.
And I was
that was
in
you,
the
huh?
river and I lost connection, and I'm so mad because it was like 100 and something down on the list, and oh my gosh. So Randy, if you're listening, get a hold of me, because he's the one who ended up buying it. I wanted that off-center SBA. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the other thing with higher denominations, like, they don't make as many. Like, you're not gonna, like, there's hundreds of off-center cents. You're not going to find a lot of off-center dollars. So they just, and there's
I want a die cap. Every time Heritage Error Auction comes up, I watch those die caps. I want a die cap, not a struck through die cap. I want a die cap.
The
Like,
actual die cap, yeah.
Oh, like for any denomination.
Yeah. That and a struck feeder finger. Daniel Carr had one of those when he bought that Denver press. He had one of those in the bottom of it when he dug all the stuff out that was down in the bottom of it. He had, I think, a few of them actually. But
yeah, I know one. I think I have one in my book. I think it sold for like over 25 grand or something, I think.
Crazy. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, it's a bucket list or what do you want?
Surprised no one said the struck through nail.
No, I don't want one of those.
Oh man, I'm like,
Not
how's
a-
that
not a
happening? Get
believer.
out of the min is beyond me, but you know.
Not a believer. You
Yeah, I
can't
know.
make me a believer in that one.
Although the coins with the struck through spring, I think are pretty amazing.
Wow.
Yeah,
Crazy.
I don't know, but the purist in me, I like double struck older coins like Indian head cents, even off center Indian head cents and Buffalo nickels. Some of the more obsolete earlier, type stuff.
Buffalo nickels are cool.
Yeah.
So Stephanie asked a question. I know what your answer is going to be, Joe, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Are off-center dateless Lincoln cents worth grading? Sorry, I had to.
I tell
Lincoln cents.
Oh, I always tell people when they ask me, like, should I get this graded? I always ask you, like why? Like, why? Like, what would be like for me? I most of the stuff I have, I don't send in for grading. For me, the reason why I would grade something is because I want to use it as a display and people might look at it. But for an off-center dateless cent, you can pick them up for like $5 or $6, and you would spend probably $40 to get it graded and shipped. So really, now you have $40 invested in something that, unless it was someone that was near and dear gave it to you and you want to protect it. But for me, I very seldom send anything in for grading. I'll send things in to be conserved if I think that they can fix it. But I would probably say no. I would say the $40 or $50 you're going to spend to have it graded, maybe put towards another one or a few. I have to get my charger real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, I'll be right back.
Yeah. So for you guys, did you guys come up with a good question for our giveaway?
Oh,
no.
Me either. I was too busy listening.
see, Paula, that's when you're supposed to hit that one button that said bugs on it.
All right, are we doing a giveaway? Are we doing a giveaway for another pocket change book, or are we doing
for his book?
For his book.
Yeah, I already bought it. So it's as soon as what the winner will do is send us their information, and then I'll forward it over to Joe. And as soon as the books come out, end of July sometime, he'll ship it out to the winner. So I was going to ask the people in chat. I was kind of hoping when he talked about Fidos, I was kind of hoping he'd go to say what that is, and then I was going to use that one. But so for those of you that don't know, it's in Joe's book, but Fidos means freaks, irregularities, defects, and oddities. So, you guys have to buy the book. He's got a lot of great little tips in the book. Super fun trivia all throughout the book. I mean, it's just a fun book to read. So, and for those of you that wonder why I'm so blunt, that guy right there is one of my mentors. So any hate mail, forward his email address is
Point Rex, that's a good question we could ask.
Sure.
Who?
What is the airspeed velocity of an African swallow? Oh man.
I think Ken Potter would be the one to ask that question.
Well,
that sounds like a Ken Potter question.
I'd had a question about tone coins.
Okay.
What do you think about those?
I hear toning is corrosion in kind of a good sense. I don't know. Is there any truth to that?
In a metallurgy sense.
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of is. Personally, I kind of like them. Like I would never clean a toned over one. And we all know some people pay, especially for Morgans, people will pay like thousands more. But
Yeah.
I don't really have an issue with it. It can hamper kind of like the design, the visible details and stuff. But like if I have like a really nice air and it's toned, like I'll leave it alone. I don't think the thing is there's people who love it and there's people who hate it. So if you clean it, there are people who are looking for just, because when I used to be big into Franklin halves and I would show them off, I would have people like the few tone ones I have, like even like a real rainbow stunner. I had literally dozens of people asking me for that. And then I've had other people who'd said I don't want it because of that. So I don't know, in terms of errors, like a lot of my silver stuff, if there's toning on it, I just leave it on there. I personally, I don't really mind it, to be honest.
I'd rather have a toned coin than a clean coin any day.
Yep, that's me.
Yeah. I'm not a big toner fan. I love, if I have silver, I love it glass white, buffaloes, I love them glass white, whatever. But I have seen, you haven't met Jeffrey Schumar yet. He's on our panel too, but has not been in for months because he's always working. He actually has a registry set that he put into that contest, that toner contest. Yeah. So I think we did the foreigns, right? Foreigns?
World coins, I think.
World coins.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Well, world coins. Yeah. I should call them world coins.
Yeah. Yeah. That set he submitted, man, that thing is phenomenal.
Are die clashes considered? That's a great question. That's a great question.
Well, it might not be a popular answer, but I kind of look at it this way. For me, a die variety exists because there was an unintentional error preparing the die. So a die clash, if I've done the hub and then I'm making, the dies from that, before I even strike a coin, if I look at it, am I going to see die clashing on it? The answer is no. And that results from a striking mishap. So to me, a die clash wouldn't be there if it weren't for some kind of striking malfunction. It wasn't on the die right when it was made. So I consider those to be errors. I don't know if it was John Sullivan or somebody said, well, if it puts that same mistake on all of them, it's a die variety. I would just say I disagree because again, I look at it this way. When the die is ready, is there an unintentional flaw in it before it even strikes the first planchet? And if the answer is yes, to me that is a die variety. So a double die is on that before it starts striking coins. A repunch mint mark is on the die before it starts striking coins. Whereas with die clashes, it would not be on there. So to me, that is a striking error. The same thing, even with die abrasions, like when they go to clean it, was that on there before it started striking them? The answer is no. So that's kind of how I categorize that. For me, conceptually, like in my head, like from a beginner, to me, that's the easiest way I can kind of put it out there to understand. And it's okay if people disagree. I don't have a problem with that. If everyone agreed on everything, you'd have no new innovation and inventions, anything like that. But to me, I can picture that in my head. I can conceptualize it. It makes sense. And for me, the easiest thing was it on the die before it started? And if it is, and it's unintentional, to me, that is a die variety. So a die clash to me would be a mint error.
So we had that conversation the last time we talked about, would it be a variety? Would it be a die variety? Would it be an error? I agree with you as far as it being a die variety or not being a die variety, because I agree that is done during the creation of the die. I like the idea of separating it a little bit from other errors by considering it a variation or a variety, because it's attributable, because it's repetitive, and you can, whereas off centers are not going to, you know what I mean? It's like people ask about cuds and interior die breaks and things like that, where you can go on cuds on coins and match yours up. Now, microscopically, they're not going to be identical because there's going to be a progression in them. Or even with die clashes, the more it strikes, the less prominent or pronounced it's going to be. So it's not going to be identical. But
right.
Some type of separating it, from other errors, giving it its own. Yeah, it's a tough one. A lot of times we say, well, they're both, because it's repetitive, but it's also not done during the creation of the die. So.
Right. I know some people like to sort of address what you said, because it does strike the same thing on multiple things. They, I don't know if it was Mike Diamond or somebody came up with a term called a die error. And that would kind of encompass, kind of fusing of both. Right?
Yeah.
But for me, I really
look at the PDS system.
Right. Yeah. So for me, basically how I navigate that is, when was the mistake born?
The PDS. Carl made those for me, by the way. Sorry, I had to throw that in there.
She's very proud of that, by the way.
I am.
Yes, very proud.
My man cave. Sorry, go ahead, Joe.
I'm good.
You wouldn't be family if Paula didn't interrupt you at least twice during the show.
That's all right.
Ask anybody here. We're being trolled in chat.
Yeah.
Which means that there's a lot of jealous people that you're here with us and not them.
Oh, yeah,
Chief Stacker has a question. May I?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Chief Stacker wants to know, are VAMs on Morgan dollars a mint error or variety?
VAMs?
That's a tough one.
How can you tell if you have the best way to know if you have a real VAM? Is that in your repertoire, Joe?
I don't really study VAMs too much. I do know, for example, like the Scarface one, right? So for me, I would go back to, how did that particular flaw originate? Like, was that on the die when it started, or did that come about because of repeated strikes? So I guess for that, technically for VAMs like that, like I know there are some VAMs that are like die clashes, and there are some that are, like die breaks and stuff like that. I would probably categorize those as mint errors, again, simply because, when did that flaw occur? Was it on the die when they started it? Or was it a result of the progression of strikes? So, I mean, to reach into my inner technical numismatic nerd, I would probably say those types of VAMs, I would even though they don't, and like, the three-legged buffalo nickel, technically to me, those are mint errors.
So on a VAM by VAM basis.
Yeah, I would have to know. I don't know all the VAMs. I just know the Scarface one in particular, because I actually saw it on Pawn Stars. Some guy brought one in.
1888-0 is what that one is.
Okay.
Yeah, the hot lips.
Well, no, that also has a Scarface.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But it also has that one also. That's a good date to look for. Trust me, it's got a lot.
I thought the 1900 was the hot lips.
1888-0.
I don't know. I don't do more.
Me personally, I think VAMs are both, because when you look at what constitutes a VAM, it's really simply just the die pairing. So a certain let's say obverse die will have the hot lips, doubled lips, or whatever it's called. One might have what they call the gator eye. I believe that was like 1887.
1887, yeah.
Yeah, and there's a few other ones. You can even go as far as like the 34D Peace Dollar, which has I believe the double die reverse or whatever it is. I mean, these are actual varieties that exist, but VAMs are simply just the die pairing. Sometimes they'll use die cracks that go all around the periphery and the letters as a diagnostic for that particular die paired up with a certain reverse die. And it's very complex, but that they look at the amount of strikes that those dies have spent together and discern a rarity factor to them, and they look at both variety types like double dates, which do exist on Morgans quite a bit, and the reverse die might have a die clash and maybe some little die chips and cracks that go around the clock on the reverse letters. And that's why I say it's both. Again, it's by a VAM case basis.
Yep.
And it's incredibly complex. I know people that collect VAMs exclusively because they just don't have time to collect anything else.
Yeah, I think I only have one Morgan dollar in my collection, I think.
I have one right here. That's probably it.
Well, I should say I only have one genuine one.
Yeah, I have a fake one. I just got a fake one right here with my pocket pinger. I'm so excited. I love the pocket pinger. Thank you, Farshad. I think that's his name, Farshad.
Wait, is that little thing that you were showing me at the beginning? You and
the pocket pinger.
So you just tap it. You tap that, and it tells you if it's silver or not.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. You put it right in there. We're doing a commercial. We said we weren't going to do that.
Well, it's a very rudimentary device, but you need to know the sound of what silver makes, and along with the other metals, to know what you have.
David K has a question. May I?
Sure. Go ahead.
David K asks, okay, what causes rims of coins to go over letters? Almost like letters in a cave coins is perfect size other than rim thick and covers the letters.
Dryer coin.
I'm picturing pennies, because I do a lot of pennies, that, the rim like migrates into the "In God We Trust" is what I'm picturing when David describes that.
Yeah.
That, and like sometimes they like a thin rim can kind of roll over. So I've seen those too. So I would say probably dryer coins, thin rims.
He said that the rim was thicker. Is that what he said? Like you get them rounded, they get kind of rounded with the dryer coins and like come over.
What causes rims of coins to go over letters, almost like letters in a cave? Coins is perfect size other than rim thick and covers the letters.
Oh, I think I know. I think I've seen a couple.
That sounds like a spoon coin to me.
Kind of hard to do without a picture, but
yeah.
I have seen some pretty extreme, especially on like the copper sense, some pretty interesting thin rims that eventually when they leave the chamber and all the weight of all the other coins in a bag kind of bend them over. So I would to me what comes to mind would be possibly a thinned rim error.
David also asked another one. He says, what causes bubbles on coins?
Zinc coins?
You might need to be more specific on what kind of coin.
Yep. While we're waiting for clarification on that, Gina asked one about barely off-centered. It says, how do you tell the percentage? Is there a formula a quick and easy formula that is used, or you just kind of guesstimate that's 3% off center? Or
someone actually, I don't know if it was in the Lonesome John catalog, but someone actually devised. They actually had a published diagram. But one of the things that I do is I will take. I'll take something like maybe like a proof, like a PF70 or a PF69 that I know is like perfectly centered, and then I'll scale down the photo of a suspect coin and I'll do an overlay, and then I can just calculate the percentage from that. It takes a little bit of time, but it's normally pretty right on. I've sent a couple coins in NGC, and I said this was about 17%, and they came back and said 18 to 15. So it was pretty close. So yeah, there is a way. I'm trying to remember
The diagram right here.
what. Yeah, that's what I was looking at.
Yeah. I printed it off.
Well, of course you did, Paula.
I know. I spilled water or something on it, though. I think it needs to go in my binder before it gets ruined.
That's not water. That's coffee stain.
Something. I don't know. Sweat. Could be sweat right now.
Captain Jigga has a question. Is
Sure.
it possible to have a coin actually missing edge reading error?
To be missing edge reading.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like a broad strike isn't in the collar. So like the collar like that will have the edge reading inside of it. And then as the die hits the planchet expands and the outer perimeter smushes into the collar and forms that pattern. If it's not in the collar when it's struck, like if it's off center, like an off-center Morgan dollar should not have any reading on it, because if it's off-center, that means it wasn't in the collar to get the reading added to it. So, in fact, I have an illustration of that in my book. I don't know if I can access it pretty quick here, but it's one of the things where I kind of show where you can tell. If any of you have the book, it's on page 269, where I kind of show.
Okay.
Let me see if I can get it. I can't tell. But on page 269, I show you like what the reading looks like, and that the planchet should form into that, and the reading pattern inside will form on the edge. Well, if it's a broad strike or an off center, it's not in the collar, so it won't have it. So yeah, it'll be missing for sure.
Well, aren't
But-
there certain coins that the reading was put on, like the edge lettering? Is it proofs? Some,
For which ones?
I don't know. That's what I'm asking.
Oh, you mean that have? You mean ones that are missing edge lettering?
Yeah, well, so you know how they go through after they're struck, they go and they have the edge lettering put on them.
Right.
They're rolled through that thing. Well, isn't there certain coins that they used to do that with the reading also? Sean, help me out.
What you mean, like capless half dollars?
Yeah,
Going back that far?
something like that.
Something like
I
that.
thought they did it with some proofs too. Like, gosh, I don't know. I'm starting rumors again. I'm making stuff.
I think so. Are you talking in the sense of more modern coins?
No, because I know how modern coins, how the reading gets on the
Yeah.
modern. So maybe I am thinking about the older coins that they used to, before the reading was put in the collar, on the collar die.
Yeah. Well, I know on the capless halves they were I believe those were marked into something that I don't know, because you'll have examples where some of the reading's missing on there, and all the lettering would be kind of like off. There's no. I can't even think of the words. I'm so blanked out right now. But just about every coin's different with edge lettering, especially when you get into the Drake Bus series. It gets kind of squirrely.
Yeah.
David K. clarified his question about what causes bubbles on coins, and he was talking about pennies.
Plating.
Yeah, I know sometimes when they're struck, especially with like the early date zinc ones, like you find some of them are really bad, like the 82s, 83s, 84s. Some of the most extreme bubbling that I have, whether it's linear or circular, is on the early zincs, which I think they later figured out how to fix that. But it can be anything from like there's impurities in there, or gas, or because for the zinc cents, they're punched out, then they have a rim added, and then they're struck, or then they're plated, and then they're struck. So
is it similar to occlusions on copper bronze coins?
No.
Are those bubbles on occlusions?
I know
Those are
sometimes.
alloy, solid alloy coins.
Yeah, I know a lot for alloy coins. You'll have gas bubbles. Like there's something within the planchet itself. The impurities in the coin combined with the heat and the force from the strike can actually cause a buildup of gas. So you'll see that on like some silver coins and some copper alloys. Whereas with the plating bubbles, it's something that can be a little bit different. But yeah, like I've seen only a few pretty serious plating blisters on like Shield Sense, but they're nothing like you would see in like the early 80s for many of them. And some of them look pretty cool, and some of them can actually sell for $10-15 or just sell. And anything that really isn't that strong or that desirable in error, like whether it's machine doubling or small die chips, like if it's just got like a really, really peculiar placement. Like a friend of mine had it was a ragged clip on a John F. Kennedy $50, except the ragged clip was right where his forehead was.
Oh,
No.
So, just
Yeah.
kind of symbolic of the assassination. It would normally be like a $400 coin. He sold it, I think, for over $700, just because like that's happened to be where it is.
eye appeal. Eye appeal.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what I mean by the eye appeal.
Yeah, they call those plating blisters zinc and pox. Zinc and pox. Yeah,
No,
I
it's
have
the-
seen some pretty extreme examples that, and I wouldn't buy them, but because in a couple of years they'll just be poof. They'll be powder.
Don't they pop at some point? Can't they?
Anytime there's any impurities like that, it makes them, like Joe was saying earlier, I don't like errors on zinc and sense because any compromise in that plating, and I mean unless that coin is encapsulated, and even then I don't think it's gonna last. They're just horrible. They're horrible. They're a curse.
Yeah, because I know like a lot of people think that slabs are airtight and they're not.
Mhm.
Like over time,
It
if you
might-
submerge them.
Prolong it a little bit, but
Oh yeah, no, it'll definitely help. But like over time, like who knows? Like like some of these Morgans are like over 150 years old. What will they look like 150 years from now? I have no idea.
yeah. And I've seen coins that have toned inside.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
they
and-
were Lincoln sets that were red originally,
Yep.
but if you set them back in, now they would get a red brown.
Or a fingerprint shows up or something.
Right.
I don't know about you guys, but I hate, other than a staple scratch, I hate fingerprints. I hate them.
Oh,
Joe, we don't talk about
Then you just open a can of
Don't
worms.
talk about
Run.
single threads on the show.
Take
Stop
your
that.
shovel and run.
Ouch.
I kind of have an answer for that question from Eddie, but I don't know if it's right or not.
So what, can the hammer die twist as it hits? What were you going to say first?
My first thought is I could actually see a die moving in the machine if the set pin is worn down where it's not locking it into place.
I don't know if I've ever, I mean,
Well, you have to consider that a strike happens so fast that there's probably not a lot of time for the hammer die to twist any when it makes that contact.
yeah, I think it's like around like, I think for pennies, it's like 12 a second or something like that. I forget how many it is.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, I told you I didn't think it was right, but
that
I
wow.
thought.
Isn't that kind of how machine doubling occurs?
Yeah, like there's some kind of just a slight, it's loose, the press isn't secured. The same thing with like misaligned dies, just kind of like it's just tilted a little bit, But to cause it to smear.
Yeah, I would think he's seeing a coin roll damage or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't, because striking at 12 per second, I can't see how it would even have the time to actually to adjust. So I'd probably say, just with what I know about that, I'd probably 51% no on that.
Yeah.
David Cunningham, how can you tell if a coin has been struck through grease or it's a die adjustment?
Oh, that's a great question.
A lot of it has to do checking the rim is usually a good one. If it has a very, very strong rim, but it has very, very weak designs, that can't be a weak strike if it has a strong rim. So I would say that would be, and I have a couple in the book that are so extreme they almost look like they're unstruck.
Yeah.
Like Paul, you probably know what I'm talking about. And that one, like, normally grease strike throughs don't sell for very much. Like I think I paid $30 for that and went to a pretty high bid for a grease strike through. It's just, but the big thing for a grease strike through is I look at, because a grease strike through, it's not the strength of the strike, it's that it's clogged in some area. So if it has that sharply defined rim on there, that can't be put on there if it didn't have a strong strike. So if there's something missing, that would be indicative of some kind of obstruction on the die face. It could be grease or anything else.
Evelyn Rivera has a question. Is a black buffalo nickel environmental damage?
Could be.
Black? I guess
You would have to examine the coin, I assume. She says, is a black buffalo nickel environmental damage?
I'd probably
99% of the time, yes.
Sounds like there's a lot of other intangibles that go into that. How's the surface look? Is it porous?
Mint luster, is that there?
Yeah.
Yeah, what does it weigh? That'd be another thing too.
Yeah.
Is Chief Stacker wants to know, why is feeder finger marks that are extremely evident not called a mint error? It's done while minting.
Oh, I say
it is an error.
It is.
Yeah. It's an error.
Is it, are they always die gouges on the die, or are they, caused by the feeder fingers, or is there some other feeder finger anomaly?
They cause scrapes and gouges on the die.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it. If you're striking, 12 coins a second, that means that feeder finger is also moving 12 times a second. So it's there's almost very little leeway where it can, and that's, how does a feeder finger get struck? It just, something happens. It's a machine parts are gonna fault. But no, it left that mark, and that's why there was a guy, I forget who it was. He sent me a roll of 2019 dimes, and except for two, every single dime in there had the same feeder finger scrape.
By the torch.
Yes.
Yeah,
that is common.
It was almost like perfectly horizontal to the torch.
Yeah.
It was almost like
they're cool, but we see them all the time. Yeah, and we're actually seeing them on 2020s too.
Yeah,
you see them on silver dime also. You see them all on the silver dimes also. So for some reason
there are feeder finger coins that were caused by die gouges caused by the feeder fingers and scrape the die. Are there feeder finger coins where the feeder finger got stuck between the die and the planchet?
You mean struck through feeder finger?
Yeah. Is there such a thing like that?
Yeah, I've seen them. I've seen a couple of foreign feeder fingers where there was only one side that was struck and then the other side was not. So yeah, I haven't seen a U.S. one. That doesn't mean, like, I'm someone where, some people think, and they're very, very cocky and they're arrogant, that if they haven't seen it, it must not exist. But
so somebody told Chief Stacker that it's not a mint error.
No, they were wrong.
Yeah, no, that would definitely be one. If it's genuine, sure.
So Erroref actually has a photo of a struck through feeder finger, and I think it's pretty trashed, that coin.
I put a link to error ref.
Beautifully trashed, but you know what I mean. Yeah. So thanks for doing that.
And I think it's kind of weird how sometimes it gives it that proof-like look to it after it gets hit with the feeder fingers.
The feeder finger thing?
Yeah.
I think they're really cool. We're seeing a lot of really 2018, 2019, 2020. We're
I see
seeing
it on wheat scents
flashes.
all the time too. On the back of the wheat scents, I see it all the time.
Those I see most of the time at the perimeter though.
Yeah.
But those I mean, well, I think we're going to see a lot of 2021 things too, because they're just striking the crap out of coins right now.
Chief says also, so feeder finger is so common that's why they're not very valuable as an error coin.
Yes, that's probably.
Yeah, they're even more common these days because of the coin shortage last year and just the overproduction of coins. Quality control kind of went out the window for a spell, and that's why we see a bunch of those feeder finger scrapes on there, strike throughs, you name it. Last year was kind of a boon for error collectors.
They can be collectible, but not necessarily expensive things to collect.
Yeah.
Right.
Correct. Yeah.
They shouldn't be.
Okay.
It's kind of like why there's so many like laminations on war nickels, because they wanted to pump them out. You know,
Buffaloes are common for that too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. What do you guys think? I think that wraps it up for questions this evening.
Yeah. Joe, did you have any questions for anybody or anything you want to promote? Talk.
Any final parting words?
Well, we got a giveaway to do.
Oh yeah, we do.
No, I would just encourage people. I think one of the things that really helped me out to learn more was not only a desire to learn more, but just to just learn what good resources that they have out there are and use them and talk to people. Like I love AeroRef is good. I like Cuds on Coins. I like Wexler's site on die varieties.
Alan Herbert.
Yep, I have Alan Herbert's book. Fred Weinberg's and his buddies wrote 100 Greatest Mint Errors, which the appendix is kind of cool. It teaches a lot of cool stuff. So, really, this is, if you really want to like get ahead and gain knowledge, I say you definitely have to do, a lot more reading and a lot less like, searching through coins and stuff like that. It's
Yeah, and like Joe said, I mean, there's so much online right now. Listen, the American Numismatic Association has a YouTube channel, and they have some fantastic learning. I mean, they've got a great minting process. I think they have a couple of them, actually. And I think they're doing a new one for the summer seminar this year. So watch for new videos from them. But I encourage every single one of you in the chat to go check out the American Numismatic YouTube channel, because I mean, they've got videos on all kinds of stuff. And you guys know how much I harp on you every single Monday. Learn the minting process. It's huge. It's huge. I'm super passionate about that. So, but we got to figure out how we're going to give this book away. Sean?
No, I think it's only appropriate. We have Joe here. Maybe he could throw a little trivia question to everyone who, and see if they get it right. Something that was brought up earlier, Joe. And whoever gets it right first wins it.
But don't answer until I typed go in chat.
Make sure you're on live chat.
Make sure you're on live chat. Refresh. We'll give you a couple seconds to refresh. Joe is going to come up with a question, and the first person in my chat that I see with the correct answer.
Am I eligible to play?
No. But the only thing is, Joe, do you have private chat over here, right? In StreamYards?
I can see it there.
Okay, so whatever question that you're going to ask, can you type in the private chat
Type
for
it in
us
there.
so that we know the correct answer to look
Yeah.
for?
So I'm just going to type my question in the chat area here.
In the
Okay.
private chat area.
Yeah, in the private chat, so only
Private
the
chat
panel
on the
members
right.
can see it.
All right. So I got to think of a question from the presentation then.
Yeah, type the question and then type the answer so that we can watch for it in chat.
And without an essay answer. All right.
Right. So I'm
It's
typing so you want me to type the question and the answer in the private chat?
Yeah, please.
It's got to be something I know. I'm trying to save $85 on my book.
Eric, you're
The
not
answer
giving
is
him a whole
taco.
lot to work with there, buddy.
Yeah.
The answer is always taco.
No, bacon.
Bacon.
Struck through bacon.
Struck through bacon.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys, get ready. Don't answer until you see the go.
All right.
I don't see it. Did you hit enter?
No, I'm still typing it yet.
Oh,
I'm trying to write it so it'll be a 1 or 2 word answer.
perfect.
Um,
Did you guys enjoy Joe's presentation? I know you did. I thank you everybody for showing up and supporting us and welcoming Joe. Hopefully he'll be back anytime he wants.
oh yeah, definitely. All right.
Thanks, Lucky Duck. Here, perfect time. Like that?
Well,
I got to
considering that's probably what he hears when he walks out in the evening
I
up there
know.
in New York, in his neck of the woods.
Can I do my balloon animals?
You like that?
Yes, I do.
All right. Who has Jeopardy music on standby?
All right, so I got my question, so I'm going to type the answer with that in the private chat.
Okay.
I'll put that in parentheses.
Cool.
All right, here we go.
I'm going to know the answer now. Great.
You guys want me to read the question then when it comes up? So I'll read the question to you guys and then I'll hit go and then you guys can guess, okay? Everybody ready? Don't guess until after you see the go in chat. Okay, and you get one guess. One guess. When looking for double dies, it is important also to have a good understanding of what common error type that is often misunderstood as a double die. Go. Make sure you're on live chat, everybody. When looking for double dies, it is important to also have a good understanding of what common error type that is often misunderstood as a double die.
We got them.
Yeah, we do.
There's plenty.
So you guys can stop. Everybody verify that. Let me make sure he didn't guess more than once. Okay, he didn't. I see BMP 804.
Yep.
With machine doubling.
Yep, that's correct.
Thank you, Joe. Thanks.
Thank you.
Outstanding.
Good question.
Congratulations, BMP 804.
Rigged.
Email us with your information, and we will. Do we have a book to send or?
So I already ordered it from Joe. I will send send us an email to our info@livecoinqa.com if one of our mods could put that in there, with your real name, your YouTube name, and your shipping address, please. And then when Joe gets these in July, he'll have your information. He'll send it out to you. And if you want something, you said you'd autograph it, right?
Yeah, if they want it signed with their name, or like some people, they want it signed because they want to give it as a gift, or they want it for them, or they don't want it signed at all. They just want that's fine. Whatever they'd like.
If you want it signed, if you want a special message put in there, just add that to the email also, and we will forward all of that information. Yay!
Good, thank you.
Well, that was super fun.
Do you
Congratulations.
have a web page or a place to order books, Joe?
In our description.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. I do everything direct. The only time I did some on eBay because I don't take credit cards, and so people had to go on eBay to buy it. But it was like $90 because I pay like $15 in fees. But normally it's just contacting me direct, either on my Facebook page or a private message, or on my my email. I'm not really equipped to. I got to be honest. I really thought, because error collecting is there are so few people that do it. I would have been thrilled if I sold 50 books. So I really didn't. I really didn't think of anything.
It's on an upswing. It's
I'm
exciting.
up to. So I'm doing another printing of 125, and of those, I think with this one I have 26 left. I think. So
That's fantastic.
It puts me over about 540 copies, which I thought 50 would be a lot and 20 would be family. So
That's fantastic. Congratulations so much. I mean, a lot of work. You said it took you 2 years to write this.
Yep. Over 2.5. Yeah.
You did fantastic.
I think a lot of the social media kind of talk about coins and error coins have certainly helped you sell your books. Just all the interest revolving around it. So yeah. Well, if any of you guys want to purchase a book, you better get on it quick. Joe's information, like I said 10 or 20 times, is down in the description below. Also join his Facebook group. It's Joe Cronins Mint Errors Explained, and it's a great group.
Yep. I've been posting a link to Joe's Facebook in the chat all through the night, and there it is again.
Perfect. And you guys remember that if you join the Coin Q&A Facebook group, please answer all the membership questions. We've had to decline a few membership requests just because the questions weren't answered. So, I mean, it's just a simple formality, but we want to keep our group to people who really, really want to learn. So please make sure you answer all the questions. And thank you, everybody, for coming. And joining us. What, Carl?
Would the answer mechanical doubling have been acceptable?
Yes.
Judges?
Yeah, it would have been. I mean, he machine doubling, mechanical doubling, strike doubling, like Joe said earlier, everybody, like, he's got his opinion on, whether something is a variety or an error. This hobby evolves constantly, so things are gonna change. But I think it's the same thing. I mean, it depends on how you think, who you talk to, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, because like Mike Diamond and John Sullivan, they kind of differ on some things, but it's just academic. People don't take anything personal. I've seen Ken Potter and Mike Diamond go round and round. It happened. A few times. That's been going on for a long time.
I know. It's actually kind of fun to watch sometimes. But whatever.
Mhm.
I stay out of it. Anyway, well, Joe, thank you so much for doing this. This was a ton of fun, and you are welcome back anytime. Anytime. Yeah, and I will continue to pick your brain.
Yeah, if you ever do a show on like counterfeit stuff too, and you want to have like another panelist for the air part of it, I would love to. I'd love to do it. I enjoy doing stuff like this. I like as a teacher, I enjoy teaching. It's something I think I was born to do. And
Absolutely, that's a passion of all of ours. We have that in common.
We might have to take you up on that offer before school starts back up again. So
Yeah.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'm going to Florida for a week, but I'll be back on mid-July. So just keep in touch and let me know.
Yeah, and if you're ever just chilling on a Monday night, 7:30 Central Time, and you want to come on and just poke around at some coins that we get in the email. So.
Yeah,
I got a beach house up there. I can meet you up there.
Whereabouts? St.
Petersburg.
Okay, yeah, we're going there for that's actually where we're flying. We're going to St. Pete Beach from the 2nd to the 11th.
Yep.
Yeah, I love it.
Good eating up there.
Yep. My wife and I, we got married there, and we've gone, except for last year, we go back right around this time, around 4th of July, and I love the St. Pete, Tampa.
So I'm going to clear something up real quick in chat. I'm going to show my screen so that you guys know what I saw first on my screen. Obviously, Adam saw it first too. I just don't want anybody going away with any hard feelings.
No, there aren't, Paula. Everything's cool.
Okay, well,
yeah. If you want to, you sure can, but then everybody's all right.
Yeah.
You're talking about Dusty knowing you?
Yeah, so, I mean, I just...
Dusty's fine.
Okay, see, right here, this is what I saw. Go.
Third one down.
Third one down. So, I just don't want anybody going away with any hard feelings.
Yeah. I was the first one to answer bacon.
Technically. Yeah, so Joe, like I said, just, message me if you're, chilling on a Monday and don't have anything better to do, like all of us.
Yeah, no, I'm not working. I thought I was gonna be working Monday, Wednesday, Friday in the summertime, but I'm just working Wednesday and Friday nights.
And if you're ever over here in the Pacific Northwest, within 8 hours from me doing a coin show, and you want somebody to come hang out with you at your educational booth, you just let me know. I'll be there in a heartbeat.
Yep, I've never been further west of Las Vegas, so it'd be the first
I
time.
can go to Vegas. Yeah, Vegas is a little far.
Yeah, that's a bad.
I have a gambling problem. All right, everybody.
Hey, Paula, are we gonna have a show next week?
Yes.
Okay.
Why wouldn't we?
Just making sure.
It's not 4th of July or anything, is it?
Well, it's the day after the 4th of July.
Oh, I don't care about the day after.
Okay.
Yeah.
Paula's an animal. She's like, let's do it.
In the morning. All right. Thanks again, you guys. Thanks for coming. Everybody hit that like button. If you're not already subscribed, please like and subscribe and hit the notification. And we will see you next time. All right, guys.
Peace out.